Welcome to the Daddy Dialogues. I am Daddy Fields here.
Daddy Ethan, Dr. Ethan Haymovitz.
Woot woot. How have you been?
I've been really good.
Yeah.
Um, I literally just cleared out my apartment. There's like 5 pieces of furniture left and like just a bunch of shit strayed all over
Mm-hmm.
the house, but it's like ready to go.
Yeah. Well,
Because
you're ready.
I'm leaving to stay with my mom for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Very cool. Where's your mom?
yeah.
She's in New York?
Florida?
Florida.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How you been, dude?
I've been good. It's been it's Memorial weekend here. It's just been
Yeah.
lazy. I've been traveling a lot, so it's just been nice just to be home.
Oh yeah, where'd you go?
So I went to Portland, Maine almost 2 weeks ago. It's
Oh.
very cool. I'd never been to Maine before, but
Mm-hmm.
their their downtown, it's like this cool mix of like it's a port town and it's industrial and it's colonial all at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. So you
Wow.
have like cobble streets in some areas. It's just a really, and it's a small downtown. Like you could probably walk like from one end to the other in about 20-30 minutes, but it's very
Mm-hmm.
dense. It's very charming actually. I liked it a lot.
I've heard great things about it. Yeah.
Mhm. And then I was in Boone, North Carolina, so close to the mountains for a conference, which is also very nice. I had been to Boone before as a child, but I hadn't been back. It's been over 20 years, so that was cool
Wow.
too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What was the conference?
What was it?
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a staff conference. So once a
Okay.
year, everyone in my organization we just get together and just so we can find out, just because we're so compartmentalized, it's not always clear as to what everyone's doing. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
a summary for a couple of days. And so we do workshops throughout the whole day. And then we do some fun stuff in the evening, afternoon. Like we went to a gem mine and we sifted through
Ooh.
for stones. Yeah, you got like so there's just this pile of dirt. You get a sifter, and then you can run it through water, and so you can find all these gems. So I found a
Oh
sapphire,
my God.
I found a ruby. Um,
What?
yeah. Granted,
Wow.
yeah, it's really cool. And that was the first day, and then the second day we went to this fun house where supposedly the gravity is
Uh-huh.
messed up, so everything is
Why you're
slanted.
on the moon?
Yeah. Well, not on the moon, but everything's like slanted, like because of I think it's just apparently it's not a real thing. I thought it was a real thing. I was a bit disappointed. But what they said
Oh.
was like there's like this large deposit of iron underneath this funhouse, and it distorts the Earth's gravity. But then I
Mm-hmm.
looked it up, and it was actually just everything was just an optical illusion. But it felt very real. It felt very real. That's
Mm.
yeah.
Awesome. So I had an idea to talk about something that we have probably both experienced at some level. Um, and I don't know how to articulate it exactly,
Sure.
but which is such a common theme throughout what we talk about, it seems.
Right.
But like, I really feel that there's this question that I ask of ABDLs when I meet them, littles or diaper lovers, that really allows me to figure out, okay, are you like 100% AB? Or are you like really leaning in that direction? Or have you been DL but leaning in your heart towards AB? It seems to really separate those who have never ever considered being AB from those who like are really in their heart of hearts very much true AB. And I know this is perhaps gonna ruffle some feathers to say because like
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. I think how we prevent that is we just talk just about our personal experiences, and
Yes,
just there's a caveat that obviously we haven't met everyone in the ABL community. We're
that's
not
right.
considering every kind of combination. So I think as long as we talk about just our personal experiences, it should be fun.
Thank you, Fields, and thank you, Don Mike.
Yes, I'm trying. I'm trying, Don. I listened to your feedback. I'm trying.
Me too. I want to bear that in mind as we move forward. Like, let's just, that's the framework of understanding that we all have and all share. This is Daddy Fields and Daddy Ethan's experience. This is not it's meant to be generalized to everybody, but there's they have some wisdom accrued based on many years of experience. So that and many partners. So I just want to clarify that perhaps we can say that less moving forward. Okay, so in my experience, this is something that really seems to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. And not that one is better than the other. I just think, in my experience, being a daddy, boys who respond to this question affirmatively are almost universally more receptive to babying and AB stuff and baby talk and being diapered, not just for humiliation or erotic purposes, but also perhaps for something more. They feel like they're little kids and they want to feel like little kids because they themselves are at some level that. So the question that I ask, it may be a little surprising to some, but I ask people very specifically, have you ever dreamed you could be regressed to babyhood? Or a variation on that would be, did you ever wish you were forced to act like a baby for the rest of your life? Or alternatively, did you ever fantasize about being a baby? As simple as that. And I've never had someone say yes to that who wasn't on the AB spectrum. DLs very clearly know, no, that's never been me. I've never wanted to be a baby. I've never ever dreamed of it. I've never fantasized about it. And I think the reason that that's telling is because this is not such a well-known question to suss these things out that people would be motivated to mishandle the answer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't say like, "Oh no, I've never felt like being a baby." If they were in fact being a baby, they'd want you to know that if you had
Right.
the question so specifically asking. Yeah.
Yeah. For ABs, like that's the whole. I think that's really the main motivation behind ABs is they want another like they know that they're a baby and they want to be
Yeah.
treated,
Yeah.
but they also want to be acknowledged by another person that they're a baby as
Hmm.
well.
Absolutely. That's such a big part of it. And
Mm-hmm.
that when someone asks it, it's so affirming for them. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just the need to say yes because it's true. It is affirmative. They feel seen,
Yes.
in my experience.
Amen. I believe I'm right there with you.
Do you have examples of things that would speak to that?
Well, here's the thing. And I while I was thinking about just this episode was that it's sometimes hard for me to kind of place people sometimes.
Hmm.
It's because earlier, and this is just kind of the evolution of my mindset in regards
Hmm.
to ABDL in general, um, is that it was kind of like diapers were the core, and
Hmm.
you depending on how you identified as if you identified as a baby or if you identified you love diapers and there's an erotic component to that you were kind of on one side or the other, or is it more of like a sliding scale?
Hmm.
But there's so much nuance to all of that. where
Agreed.
it's like I can come across someone who identifies as a DL, and this is pretty common. I come across quite a few DLs who are like this, who they say that they'll identify as a DL, but they're wearing onesies and they have
Hmm.
a teddy and they have, they like to use a bottle. And if they're identifying as DL, then that's how I'll approach them and I'll respect that. But
Yeah.
at the same time, there's some AB stuff going on there too. And I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know. It's difficult. It's hard for me to place people. So usually what I do, because I would prefer, well, let me take that back. Just that's also been an evolution. Really, in the past I would have preferred like an AB regressive boy,
Hmm.
but since I keep running across that problem of where it's difficult to place people,
Hmm.
my desire for a boy has expanded on that.
Well, I mean, it certainly evolves and develops. I guarantee you that was in the early stages of my own ABDL development, something I would have said, yes, I fantasize about that. Because that was certainly how it began for me. Remember, I was explaining that my gym coach said this thing to me, and then I had these fantasies that he would kidnap me and force me to regress to babyhood and keep me that way for the rest of my life. And that changed over time because I tried doing AB stuff many times in my 20s and it just never felt good. And I, but I still like diapers. And there was a point when I hit 27, whatever, when I sort of switched out of the whole scene entirely. I was like, okay, I'm just going to be vanilla because I'm marrying Zach and 28, 29, whatever it was. And he's vanilla. I don't need to deal with this anymore. And all the images that I saw on Tumblr at the time were exciting to me, so it wasn't this or that. But then when I hit 40, I sort of identified with daddying, which I still think, well, actually, it probably is a combination of AB and DL to be a daddy for me because I understand the mindset of regression and like why that's appealing both erotically and not erotically. And for those who it's one or the other or both. And also, I love diapers. So,
Sure. Yes. The diapers are that's the crux. I would agree, and I think I'll challenge what I just said. Like talking
mhm,
about DLs who wear onesies and they have a bottle and the teddy. That may because there's different types of ABs, right? So there's your
mhm,
regressive ABs who, in my opinion, are there they believe that there's a part of themselves that is truly a baby and they're trying to tap in to that part of themselves when they become a baby. And then you
mhm,
have age play ABs where
mhm,
there is, for some, not all, just the ones that I've come across, where there's kind of it's like there's a sexual gratification from like role playing as a baby. Like just like there could be humiliation baked into that. There could be all these things, but
mhm,
so on the flip side of that, there could be DLs that maybe there is an AB aspect to it where they're wearing like babyish stuff, or it's baked into just the whole sexual side of DL for them altogether.
See, I would explain the phenomenon of AB behavior from someone who's DL to be one. So someone is evolving in that direction, the AB direction, and they're sort of timid about it. But in my experience, when I ask that question directly, it always brings up to the surface that because then they feel seen and understood. Like, how did you even know to ask me that kind of thing? And I would also say that, yeah, the DL thing, I mean, that could just be like a standard erotic fetish thing, but there also probably is some humiliation component to that. Um, yeah. And age play, I would just call that, I would just, I'm going to simplify everything now. No, I think age play for some, so maybe to further complicate things, for some age play is just a way to like tap into the AB experience and the regressive experience and the desire to be a baby without having to commit to it fully and make it a lifestyle. Unless it's sexual, I do think that there. I mean, maybe some people experience it both ways, sexual and regressive in that way. But
So that's yeah, exactly what I was getting at. It's just so difficult to place people. But in terms of, I'll circle back to kind of how I probe someone who is
mm-hmm.
leaning more on the AB is just what they have in their pictures is usually a good
Mm.
indicator. And like I'll just ask them like, what's your like explain to me your little self. And if they're really
Oh, that's a
leaning
great
on the AB
question.
side, then they'll be like, oh
Hmm.
great, I got a
Yeah.
dad and he wants to know about my little side. Great. And so they
Hmm.
love to explain that. That's like what's
Hmm.
really what they're hoping someone will ask. So that's how I approach it.
Hmm. I mean, that makes perfect sense. I think asking what is your little side like is the same way of getting at it in that, I mean, although it's more broad because you're not asking about being a baby specifically, you're asking about being like a little boy or baby. But I mean, it's a really good way to ask the same thing, I think,
Yeah.
because you're
And
accessing the same question. If they
mhm,
don't have a little side, they're not going to say anything about a little side.
correct. Yes. And just
Right.
I keep it broad just because I don't know, what would you consider if we're talking about like a play age or a regressive age, what would you consider to be little? Like what would you consider to be the age range on that?
Well, there's the middles or whatever, and I rarely encounter middles, or maybe they just are not interested in me and I'm not interested in them. I don't know. It just doesn't gel that way for me. But usually, anything four and below, I would think is little, quote unquote. And I also would go so far as to say two and younger is baby.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll run across because some they have a little side. Usually, I like littles who are more on like the toddler side, like between like 2 and 3. But there's some that they would consider themselves to be little, and they're like 4 or 5. So I
Hmm.
keep it broad, just to kind of keep it like so they can fully explain who they are. And if
Hmm.
our interests are aligning, like I'm looking for, like, you like to be a toddler, I'm looking for a toddler little, great.
That makes perfect sense. For me, it is like the motivation is that I want to know that I can get inside your head and understand you, empathize with where you're coming from, and help you usher you through this journey. That's how I look at it. And it is so needle precise to ask, have you ever wanted to be a baby or forced to be a baby? Have you ever wanted to be forced to be a baby for the rest of your life? It just seems to be like a trigger button for people. They tend to respond very quickly to it, yes or no. And I always start a conversation that way that ends up in the realm of stuff I understand and can relate to, and like I can work with. If someone said no, I can't relate to that. Often, if not always, I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. But sometimes people do sit. One person has identified with me as a DL recently, and I'm like, oh, you are not DL. Because he was really interested. When I asked him this question, he said yes. And then everything subsequent to that question was like, Yes, I want to wear a pacifier. Yes, I want you to make me speak with only 3 words. And yes, 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 yes. So yeah, I mean, it's a really good way to parse out things for me. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how it would work for anyone else.
Right. So do you think that we need to like change the language of
Oh,
how people identify, or do you think it's fine? Like I know I think ABDL spectrum is because you could be in multiple places on this scale. But do you think?
I think there does need to be a
Hmm.
change of language. I don't know what it would be, but I do know, first of all, ABDL is like code. It's an acronym. It's not only is it code and is an acronym, and it's meant to obfuscate what the actual experience is that people are having, because people want to be like sort of down low DL about it, but also because they don't want people to know if you're just saying casually in a conversation ABDL. Most human beings wouldn't recognize what that means, but if you said adult baby diaper lover, they're going to have some idea like, well, this is something. But that's the other thing. I think that term in of itself is kind of like ludicrous in a way. Like, first of all, because of it smushing together two things that are somewhat distinct in ways, but also because it's more, even being a B is more about being more than just about being a baby. It's about the being experience as a younger self that you were. It's about having a parental figure care for you and give you guidance and discipline. It is not just about being like specifically a baby. As you said, there's a toddler age range that people can fall into, and also there's middles. And I've met people who've even said like, I'd
Yeah,
like to be
I
a
met
12-year-old
those.
boy and be
Yeah, I
forced to
met
wear
those people. Hmm.
diapers. Yeah, maybe it was the same
Maybe.
guy. um, so I don't know. I just I questioned the whole thing. So yes, it's a great
I
question to
agree
ask.
too. I think it's too. I just think it's too limiting. To your point, like it doesn't fully
Mm,
describe. I think they just kind of. I think probably what happened is they just tied together because I do believe like diapers are central to both experiences. So I can understand why they tied it. Yeah, I can understand why they
mostly.
tied it together that way, but it doesn't fully describe like the individual experience of it all. I guess. Any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. You know, I found out today that in Israel, when you say littles, first of all, if you translate littles into Hebrew with ChatGPT, it translates into little children. And that makes everything sound awful when you're talking about ABDL stuff. The other thing is that I asked someone like, well, what would be the word choice that you use? And they're like, no, you use the word katan. No, not katan. That's little. I was using that word. And they're like, no, don't say that. That's very unacceptable. And they're like, just use, yeled, boy, or, tinok, baby. So now I know. I like katan. It's diminutive without being like completely an insult.
So for a big, you wouldn't say, did you figure out what the, it wouldn't be gadol,
Big.
it would be something else, right?
I don't know. I didn't ask. I'll have to get back to you. I have so many things to learn. It's been fun. We had a great time as usual. Feels it is so much fun getting to know you and exploring this space with you.
Me too. I'm glad that you are my companion on this journey of ours.
Yeah. All right. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace out for now.
Bye bye.